Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of NHLN Opinion Plus, a weekly series airing every Friday. This is a space for our opinions where we talk about current events and questions the Latino community are curious to know. Today, we are joined by Borja Alvarez de Toledo, President and CEO at Waypoint since 2013. Before this position, he served as Division Director for Child and Family Services at Riverside Community Care. Welcome, Borja, and thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. This is a pleasure. Thanks.
Yes, I'm excited for our conversation. So I was hoping we could start by talking about Waypoint's general work and your history. If you can give us sort of an introduction to the nonprofit.
Sure. I'll say that Waypoint has three things that make it a little different as a social services from other agencies in New Hampshire. One is we're the oldest charitable organization in New Hampshire. We were founded in 1850. We also are one of the only ones that actually covers the whole territory. We are in all the communities in New Hampshire. And the other thing is we actually cover the whole life spectrum, from early childhood and prenatal all the way to our senior citizens. And in between, we work with kids that are in foster care. We do adoption. We do family counseling. We have 24 different programs that really meet the needs of children, families, seniors. And the other thing that's unusual for us is that most of the services, I would say 85% of the services, are actually in the community. So we go to the homes of our clients rather than having the clients come to our offices.
Okay. And then so I'm curious about like day-to-day operations. What are they like usually? That can be sort of a general question because like you told me, you have a lot of programs.
Yes.
So I guess, yeah, if you can sort of summarize.
Depending on what area of the state we have different services, but we might be serving kids in early intervention that are from 0 to 3 and working with their parents. We can also be working on an adoption and making sure that we do the legal process to make sure that someone is fit to adopt and we have a baby that is up for adoption. We can also have kids that are at risk of being placed in institutions or residential programs. And we really try to work with the family to keep them intact and keep them in the community and thriving together with their family. Sometimes we have kids that have been placed out of the home because of protective issues. And what we do is try to reunify them with their families. So, and then we serve, I think last year we served 940 seniors that are really frail and need help to do their activities of daily living. And we go into their homes and make sure that they have a meal and that they shower, and sometimes we clean and help them get whatever they need and make sure that they remain safe in their own homes for as long as it's possible.
Right.
So it's hard to say like what's a typical day because there's really not a typical day. And we serve close to 8,000 individuals every single year. So we have a huge variety of situations.
Right.
But I can tell you that this year has been very different, obviously, because of COVID-19. And I know that's probably one of the things you want to hear about.
Yes, that's my next question, actually. Just about how, like you said, Waypoints, it began in 1850, and I imagine through this time it has established, solid routines and consistent objectives, sort of set things. And I'm curious how COVID has changed that. And you can take your time because I'm curious to see how this has impacted the level of caring for senior services.
Sure. So I think the second week of March, when it became clear that there was this pandemic upon us, and then there was the governor sort of like the stay at home, we actually sent our 300 employees home. And we said, just for now, we want to make sure that you're safe, that our clients are safe, and we'll figure out what's next. And one of the things we did immediately is advocate with other providers and also at the federal level to make sure that we could continue to serve our clients, but not face-to-face, but actually through telehealth. So that was, when that was allowed, what we made sure is that we had communications and contact with all of our clients. So, well, the first problem we discovered is, well, not all of our employees had a laptop and could connect to our clients. So the first thing that we had to do is deploy 75 laptops to make sure that everybody could continue to work from home in a safe way and engage their families, their kids, their seniors, and make sure that they were okay. soon we realized that for certain services, we are the only lifeline that our clients have, and we could not completely stop services. The seniors I were mentioning before, sometimes it meant, having a meal and having access to a meal or a shower or medication or whatever needs they have to make sure that they remain safe. And the same is true for we also work with our runaway and homeless youth. We're the only provider of services for kids that are homeless or youth that are homeless. And for those youth, we coming to our center and having a shower or sort of accessing food or a pair of boots or whatever they needed was absolutely crucial. So what we did is we made sure that we had PPE equipment. And it was hard in the beginning because everybody, and there was not enough, everybody read about there was not enough PPE. And the priority was the medical community and the nursing homes. And suddenly we were not considered to be a priority. And we really worked with the state to help them understand that these seniors really needed us. We were probably the only person they saw all week. And if we stopped services, it had really consequences for them. So once we got the PPE equipment, we actually started for many of those services going back into the homes again in the most safe way that we could, obviously, fully equipped and serve the seniors and serve some families. But it was complicated. What I will tell you, one lesson learned from this is there were families with young kids that were not really engaging in our services because they could not come to a group, because public transportation is not available, because it's really complicated to sort of drag 3 kids under the age of 5 so that, Johnny, who's 3 years old and has behavioral issues, can come to a group and learn things. And via telehealth, we actually realized that some of those families that were either geographically more remotely or that had a hard time engaging because of their situation, they were actually engaging. So I think this is here to stay. And we're always going to have sort of a hybrid model in which, when possible, we'll do face-to-face, but we'll reach out to families and children and seniors in other non-conventional ways, because I think it actually has proven to be incredibly effective and really helpful for the families. So it's been quite a journey. I am proud to say that we have been able, because of some federal support, through loans that were through the CARES Act, to keep every single employee with us, and that we have continued to engage the families, whether when possible we have done it face to face, and when not, we have done telehealth. And my staff has been incredibly creative in figuring out how to, for example, the first thing you have to do with a family is sign releases of information and all the paperwork. Well, they took pictures with their phones, they send it to us, and we figure out how to sort of make sure that we continue to do services. And in fact, in this process since March, I think we've hired 65 people. Even though the onboarding has been done all remotely, people will get a laptop in their homes and then with instructions open, and someone will be talking to them and telling them what to do next. So it's been certainly very, very different, very interesting, and very hard work at the same time.
Right. Yeah. It sounds like a lot was needed besides laptops, creativity, like you said, ingenuity. That's what I'm thinking of. But that's amazing that you've established this new thing that can continue. I think that's something that's emerged through the pandemic, where people are realizing these hybrid remote services. This technology has always been here. We just didn't know like how much it could have helped us. So
it is great. I mean, the other thing we also realize, certainly this is true for our runaway and homeless youth, is as much as we wanted to connect with them, they oftentimes have a cell phone, but they don't have a Wi-Fi plan because they can't afford it. So what they would do is they go to McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts or near the library. They knew what corner of the library they could actually get the public signal of the library. Well, they were disconnected from the ability. So we actually wrote grants and had charitable funds to actually give them access to Wi-Fi. So we deployed, I believe it was 60 or 100 devices that kept those youth connected to us. So we never thought that technology was going to be both our biggest friend at the end of the day, but the biggest challenge in the beginning to try to figure out how to connect with those youth and the families.
Right. That's amazing. That's very interesting. So relating to the COVID-19 crisis, I was hoping you could give us talk a bit about the Family Support Warm Line, one of your direct responses to the pandemic.
Sure. So let me give you a little bit of a history of how it happened. So very quickly, one of the things we realized, the community providers as well as the state, is there were no eyes on children. So children were not in school, so the teachers were not seeing them. They were not going to their pediatricians. They were not receiving face-to-face services. And we knew that in times like this, where the parents are home trying to negotiate how to deal with the kids and maybe having lost a job or trying to help the kids learn remotely, it was very stressful times. And we knew, because we've known through, like Katrina, the hurricane, and other crises, that the level of abuse and neglect actually goes up, and the level of crisis and substance abuse and domestic violence and all of the very stressful indicators for family, all of them go up. But we were actually not seeing any calls to protective services because the people who typically call were not seeing the kids. So we decided that it was a very stressful time. And I called the state one day and said, hey, I don't know if you've thought of this. This was April. I don't know if you thought of this, but I think families need somewhere to call and not just get a resource, but actually have a conversation about, this is happening with my child. What should I do? Or how can I help? Or they were very stressed themselves and wanted some friendly, non-judgmental person to talk at the end of the line. So we pitched that idea, and the state came back to us and said, I think this is a great idea. I would love for you to do it. Share the story with the governor, who says, I'm announcing this on Thursday at my briefing at 5 o'clock. And this was Wednesday. And I'm like, well, we're not exactly set up because I'm just telling you the idea. But that weekend, we really scrambled to put together the whole warm line from a technical point of view, as well as to have our staff scheduled hour by hour from, I think it's 8:30 to 4:30. So that when someone calls, they have someone who's an expert in family dynamics and, a family support specialist that they can talk to for up to an hour. And then oftentimes they receive access to other resources. So the model has really worked incredibly well, so much so that we have been actually on calls with the state of New York and with other states and other protective services, and they're trying to do this New Hampshire model that has proven to be very successful. So it's something we really feel very proud of. It's been a great support for families. And we've decided that we were going to continue this because families really sometimes just need an hour of someone talking to them without having to engage in the whole process.
Right. Yeah. That's amazing. Person-to-person connection, having
Yes.
an actual, rather than a survey or having a specific, I don't know.
Or just a referral to a service, and then you don't know what happens. This is like someone that actually pays attention and listens to what's going on. Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
okay. That's amazing. It's great to learn all about these projects that you're working on, and that this is inspiring other organizations, governmental entities to follow the same. That's exactly what we need during this time, I think. So unfortunately, we're wrapping up. It was so great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. This was great.
I appreciated it. So thank you for talking with us, Borja Alvarez de Toledo, and for being our guest on NHLN Opinion Plus. Everyone, tune in next week for another episode. Follow us on Twitter at NH Latino News and Instagram at NH_Latino News. I'm Belen Dumont with NHLN Opinion Plus. See you next time.